Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of King Size Conan from Marvel Comics. This is a one-shot special they put out to celebrate it says 50th anniversary of Conan at Marvel, but it really is the 50th anniversary of the first Marvel comic of Conan that was put out in the 70s. Obviously, Conan spent many years at Dark Horse, but regardless, it is 50 years since Conan the Barbarian #1. So let's talk about the cover here. I think it's okay. It is a lot of black and pink and a lot of negative space. I just don't find it very attractive, and we've got King Conan in the background here, and he doesn't even appear in this issue. But I think it gets the job done. We do see that it is a Conan comic. He does look rough and savage and all that stuff. But I think the main draw here is in the interior. And by the way, this is a $7 extra sized issue, and so they have actually put on good paper stock. This is actually thicker than regular comic book paper stock and is not that tissue paper thin cover stock we've been getting over recent Marvel comics, so that's good. It's $7 because it's an oversized issue, and it has 50 pages of comic book story in it. A normal comic book is, of course, just 20 pages of story, so this has some pretty good stuff in it. Each story is 10 pages, and it begins with Roy Thomas and Steve McNiven doing a story that basically has Conan leaving Samaria, and it is gorgeous. McNiven really channels Barry Windsor Smith. It is an absolutely gorgeous, well-written 10-page tale. And equally gorgeous are the next 10 pages written by Kurt Busiek, great story, and drawn by Pete Woods. One thing to note about Busiek's story is that Busiek wrote Dark Horse Conan, and this is the Dark Horse version of the character. If you're a new reader and you don't know about the old Conan series from Marvel, that is going to be a distinction without a difference for you. But if you are familiar with that old Conan series from Marvel, this may be a little disorienting, but just keep in mind it's not that Conan, it's the Dark Horse version, and you'll be fine. Regardless, it is a really good story, and I love the fact that we got both Roy and Kurt doing Conan stories in here. So the other stories in here are not done by traditional Conan creative teams, but this one is quite good. The next one is Chris Claremont and Robert De La Torre, and it is a different story, but it is very good. The next one is by Kevin Eastman, and this is kind of hyped as his first Marvel work, and I gotta say, this is the 1 weak link in here. It's paint by numbers as far as the story goes, and the artwork just doesn't do it for me. I don't have a whole lot of Eastman's work. I'm familiar with a little bit of his stuff from the early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which he co-created, and I really like that. But here it kind of looks like he inked himself with a Sharpie or something. It just doesn't work that great. But I gotta say, it's just 10 pages, and it's fun to experiment with Conan. It's fun to see what different writers and artists can do with that property. Even though sometimes it's not always the best thing in the world, everyone should get a shot at Conan who wants it, you know? And the last story is an artistic tour de force by Stephen McKnight and Jesus Saiz, and it is gorgeous. It's just wonderful, wonderful artwork, and it has Conan and Belit during Conan's time as a pirate, and this is the Marvel Comics Belit, not the alternate version that they did in the miniseries last year. And so that's 50 pages of story, 40 which I would say are good. And it's $7, which I think is probably fair. One point of contention I do have with the issue is that it is 64 pages in length with only 50 pages of story. And so traditionally the 64-page format has had 55 to 57 pages of editorial content, and then the rest are, filler ads. But here it's 50 pages of comic book story, and then there's 6 pages, one of which is an editorial at the end, which I'll talk about. But then the other 5 pages are just pure filler. We've got an entire page to that one little paragraph that runs at beginning of every Conan story usually takes up this much space at the top. We waste a page on that. And then we have 2 pages just saying the name of the damn comic. A little bit of table of contents, certainly doesn't need to take up that much space. And then a blurb that basically says the same thing that the first page said. And then we waste 2 pages on a map in the back. And the reason this is mystifying is the editorial in the back actually is all about plugging other Conan comics, but the only reference we get to other Conan material in this issue is this one single page with some text on it and these 2 covers. This is the regular series, and this is an announcement of a King Conan series that's coming out. But both of these covers are a little bit bigger than postage stamps on here. Why? You have all of this space, Why not have put the covers as full page images? Why not have put previews of the interiors of those comics like American Mythology does? It gives you bonus material to make you feel like you've gotten more for your money. Plus, it might entice you to go buy those comic series you're plugging. I have tons and tons of filler ads in here, tons of ads for King in Black, but no ads for King Conan, which is the book you're trying to sell. It's just mystifying. I have paid $7 for this. I have it in my hand. I don't want to Google anything you're going to tell me about in this issue. You already have me. I just want to turn the page and take a look at it. But that's my only real gripe other than the Kevin Eastman story. Otherwise, this is a good Conan comic. This is arguably the only really good Conan comic we've gotten in 2020, and certainly one of the best ones they've put out since they've relaunched Conan last year. And while, I think they could have sold us on the other titles a little better, particularly if they had actually tied this issue into those other titles. These are fine stories, but they're completely self-contained, with the exception of the first story actually continues into Conan the Barbarian #1 from the 70s. But, there's nothing here to plug in the stories themselves, the content that they're putting out or about to put out of Conan, which is kind of weird. There's nothing important. There's no new characters introduced that are significant or anything like that. So, but they are solid stories. They're certainly more Conan-esque than I've seen Marvel put out since this relaunch. And it does mean that there is somebody in that office who understands how to put out Conan stories, and I hope we start seeing more of that from them. And I'm kind of mystified why they only can do this for a 50th anniversary special and why we can't get creative teams of this caliber on Conan on a regular basis. Because, Marvel has all these resources and it just doesn't feel like any of them are going to a Conan comic. Except for, this one 64-page special that they can charge $7 for and has like a zillion variant covers. But, I want something like that if I'm going to pay $4 a pop, for a Conan series. But we'll just have to see how King Conan is. They're bringing Jason Aaron back. I didn't care for his first issue of Conan the Barbarian, but I did later get the digital version of the first 6 issues, and he does improve greatly. The Conan title does definitely get competent, actually pretty decent under that creative team that they're bringing back to do King Conan. So hopefully that'll be good. I'll probably check it out, just, out of curiosity. And it does say King Conan will be set further in Conan lore than we've ever seen before. Obviously, judging from the age of Conan's son on the cover, if you can make it out, that wouldn't be the case, but I suspect either A, the cover is not representative, or B, they may have another framing story set further in the future, if that's what that means, if it literally means further in Conan's life, because obviously it wouldn't be called King Conan if we were dealing with something further than we'd seen before. I don't want to spoil Conan of the Isles, but there's more to Conan's life than than King. So if you haven't read Conan of the Isles, I highly recommend it, either the novel or the graphic novel. But anyway, that'll be interesting to see. So I'm definitely checking that out. But that's all my thoughts on King Size Conan. I think it's actually a Conan comic worth picking up if you don't mind the $7 price tag. And I've got plenty of reviews of other Conan series that Marvel has put out. And you can like and subscribe for more videos. And until next time, see ya.